He kōna I purangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Unuhia ki te urutapu nui, kia wātea, kia māmā te ngākau. He tinana, te wairua I te ara tangata. Ko iara e rongo, whakairia ake ki runga, kia tina, haumie, huie, tai ki e. Tēnā koutou katoa, nau piki mai, nau kake mai, kuhu mai, ki roto I tēnei whare o te tiraraka, ki te whare pāhotanga o Moana Radio I Tauranga Moana. Kau tēnei ko Justine Murray, he uri ahau no tēnei whenua no Tauranga Moana, e mihi nei, e tau nei. E te whānau, welcome to this session, this kōrero session, Paewhiri. My name is Justine Murray. A bit of a solo show today, Kuau anake, kei roto I tēnei whare. It's just me, myself and I. But today's show we have a kōrero, an interview with Kristyl Neho no Ngāti Kahungunu. And she was in Tauranga Moana recently for the Tauranga Arts Festival. It's a celebration of writers, theatre. It's an arts festival. And she was here to perform her play, Tangihanga. A solo show, so it's just her on the stage. She plays 30 characters. So I said, you know what, Kristyl, if you are available, please hara mai ki roto I tēnei whare o te tiraraka ki te kōrero, and I'm so thankful that she did. So e te iwi anei te kōrero, te ui I runga I tēnei hōtaka o Paewhiri. Whakarongo mai.
Pai tū, pai hinga, Paewhiri.
Kia ora, ko Kristyl Neho ahau, e noho ana au ki te mātou a Maui, ki Hiratonga. Ngāti Kahungunu, Ngāpuhi, and Ngāti Parau, my iwi. And I'm here to perform Tangihanga at the Tauranga Arts Festival.
Kia ora, tēnā koe, Kristyl. O te rānau mai hara mai ki tēnei pāhotanga o Paewhiri. So, Tangihanga is your solo play.
Yes.
And where did this concept of Tangihanga come from?
Oh, cool. So we're just on a 2025 tour, which started in August. So this is our 12th and final season for our touring. We were meant to do 16, but we've rescheduled some of that. I first seeded it in 2009 after my dad passed away. He had quite the tumultuous Tangihanga. And yeah, I wrote it as a feature film, but because a lot of people at the time said, you know, I wouldn't have the skills or the capacity to do it. I was already a trained artist at that time and had done 9 years of training. I thought, okay, then I'll write it into a theatre show. I'll take it from 47 characters to 30, and I'll play all the characters, and I will take it to Aotearoa and get feedback, and the feedback's been pretty amazing.
And this is what?
16
years ago?
Yeah.
And so did you, because you're also alumni of Toi Whakaari, Kristyl, so obviously you would have honed your craft from that sort of community and space. You described it as tumultuous, and was that the reason why you decided to write about it?
Yes, so Dad was a mortician. He was an undertaker, and so he had learnt that when he was 10 years old with his grandma. Wow. And he learnt the old kind of kawa and how you do the bodies, and you put them in the cave and you wait till they decompose, and so the flesh would be, and then you'd then go bury the bones, and kind of taught us a little bit about the different herbs that we would use to preserve the bodies. And so my whole life, basically, I attended like a good 1,000 tangihanga before I was 18. And people were like, how can you visit that many? I was like, oh, it's because he was a funeral director, and so I wouldn't know them. Yeah, well,
literally, come on.
He had his little moko, so he was actually my grandfather. So my grandparents had to take us because, well, we were there, and so we would go to the funeral parlour, or would be at the urupa while he was making the tombs, digging the graves at the tangis. We'd get left there a lot. You know, we're like, oh, okay, I guess we're staying here again.
Yeah.
So because of that, I was able to witness just how different whānau and different people deal with grief. And there's always like the stereotypical kind of whānau members. There's the ones that, you know, that are grieving. It's like the loved ones. And then there's the cousins that are just turning up because they heard there's a kai. And then there's the ones that want to spin yarns. And then there's the marae drill sergeant. And then there's the one that's always on the pai just wants to talk and talk and talk. So because that was my life experience, I didn't realise it wasn't normal until I was about Form 1, so year 7. Or year 8, sorry, and then they were talking about dead bodies and I was writing and then I said, oh, yeah, I think I've seen about 200-300 bodies, and I kept doing my mahi. Then I looked up and everyone was staring at me and the teacher goes, did you say 300-400 bodies? I was like, yeah. So it was at that stage that I realised, oh, okay, seeing that many bodies as an 12-year-old is not normal.
So were you scared at all? Or it was just...
No, like sometimes, like there's a part of the play that I do that my dad actually made me do. So when I was about 9, 10, we have to go to the funeral parlour after mahi, and he'd reverse out. So we could be there till 6, 7. So he'd like go, okay, I'm going to pull the van out, I need you to close the roller door. But the roller door was at one end. Then there was the hearses right by the roller door.
Yeah.
Then there were coffins lined up. Then you'd have to run past bodies sometimes. So I'm here as a 10-year-old. He's turned the lights off, didn't even kindly leave it on for me. So I'm like closing the roller door, having to run past all of these things as a 10-year-old. So we did all like turning up at the urupa at 9 o'clock because he's got to finish something off. So there's that kind of stuff. But when it came to his tangi, it was very tumultuous. We had a couple of aunties or people arguing because he was quite the rangatira in Ngāti Kakununu, even though he was Ngāpuhi. And so there were a lot of fights about where he should be buried and what should happen with him. And then had 2 unhinged aunties that basically started up a punch-up fight in the urupa.
Oh.
Massively.
Is your dad or grandfather?
It's my grandfather, but he raised me, so I call him Dad.
Okay, cool. Because I think the timeline then worked, because I was thinking, oh, your papa was quite young then if you were just 10 years old. But so your grandfather, and so he passed away in Kahunguni, but he was from Ngāpuhi.
He was Ngāpuhi, yeah.
And the tumultuous part is the
actual tangi itself, because he was quite loved by our hapori. I just assumed when I used to think about his mate or his tangi that it would be lovely. But no, there were just arguments and people bringing in their dramas, and then some of the kohanga, because Dad was a part of the kohanga reo movement, somebody stole his $10,000 koha that nobody could find it. You know, like Dad had pigs that we used to feed at my uncle's house, and then we brought in 5 of them and then 4 went missing. Like that kind of stuff. It was just lots. And we were going from marae to marae because people wanted to say goodbye. And then my aunties were causing dramas the whole way through. When I mean it was like all sorts of like tumultuous interactions and situations. And so by the time I got back and I had kind of removed myself, I was like, okay, we talked to my whānau the night we got back and I said, this is a story. We were exchanging what happened during the tangi. And I said, this is a story, not just based on that, but just how heartbreaking tangis can be. But because I was in a really bad place, like before I married my ex at the time, I was in a really good place. Toi Whakaari was about to go into the industry, married him, my life fell apart. So by the time my dad died, I was embarrassed by the wahine I was. And so I kind of wrote the story for one, don't wait to the poroporo ake to tell your loved one how much you love them. And second of all, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Which means what decisions do you make every day? Are you creating value in the world? So it's kind of encompassing my whole whakapapa, my life history, and just kind of like my ode to my dad.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is just, man, that must have been a really, really difficult time to have the tangihanga finish and look back and go, what was that?
Yeah.
Especially in obviously it was 16 years ago, e te whānau, but it still resonates. Today you're explaining it like it happened like a month ago, you know, so the feelings must be, and how did you ever consider that, I'm going to write about it, but, you know, you're basically shining a spotlight on what happened in your life? Was there a bit of whakamāði or no?
No, because this is like my 17th solo show, so my whānau are used to me either writing stories, books, telling stories online. But a lot of people that have come, I say there's been about 50 whānau members or friends of our whānau that have come to the show and went, that was a lot nicer than the actual tangi.
Okay, because they were there.
They were there.
Yeah.
In the urupa.
Yeah.
Like it's pouring down and there's just punching and screaming. Like I had been to like at least 1,200 tangis and I've never seen that in my life. And my auntie was saying to her friend, oh man, if this was the YouTube days, then this would have gone viral. It was that epic. We didn't really have that then, but it was that epic. Yeah.
Pai tū, pai hinga, Paewhiri.
Has creating Tangihanga based off this? Is it based off that particular event, or is it just over
it's
time?
based off everything. So everything in it has happened, either in my whānau or tangi. A majority of it is from what's happened in our whānau tangis, and a lot of what happened in Dad. It's just been slightly changed. Characters have slightly moved around to make the story permeate a bit more.
So I just thought I'd add a side note here, Te Whānau, if you're listening and you're not too sure what the word tangihanga means. It is the funeral of, in te ao Māori, in the Māori world, in our culture, usually when somebody passes away, there is a 3-day period of mourning. The deceased or the tūpāpaku is laid at a marae, or it could lay at home these days for however many days the whānau want. Usually it's about that 3-day, and it's our last rites, our celebration of their life, our church services. So that's Tangihanga, and that's what Krystyl's talking about. So you play, was what, 47 character, solo woman?
Yeah, there's only 30 in this one though.
But 30, whittled down to 30.
Yes.
And based on real people or...
Heaps of them have come too. They're like, even my brother is one of them, and he was like, who's Polder? And me and my older brother looking at him like, what do you mean? And we were just in Upanuni, and my first cousins came, and they were like, oh my gosh, that's Rawiri, eh? And I was like, yeah, he's got the audacity to ask me. My uncle was like, was that me? I was like, yeah, that's you, uncle.
Oh,
so
what a privilege. Cool. I'm so honoured. So when you get your Oscar, you can be like, thank you to all the... That's amazing, Kristyl. And how long did just going back a little bit, Tangihanga from obviously that period in your life, 2009, to writing it, to when was your first show?
So I wrote it, and in 2010 because Dad died in October, I started writing it 2010, finished writing the first draft of the feature in 2011, and then I just kind of worked on it a few times and then didn't look at it for like till 2022. And I thought, I'm going to take a solo show. I'm going to do a massive, because I had been doing theatre productions for tamariki, so I've written, directed and produced 52 children productions with like anywhere between 40 and 300 children. So then I was like, I think it's my time to go back into the mahi. So then my friend Sian from Tauranga Arts Festival, because we had done a show before that with our mate Puti, who's passed away, she was like, you need to do Tangihanga. You can bring it up here for He Kakano. And then I was like, I'm going to do a showing in Hastings. Then we took the showing in Aranui. And then last year we took the development piece. So we changed it 25 different ends.
Oh!
Just to keep, because I wanted to get the feedback from the audience. Does the story make sense? Is the characters making sense? Can people follow the arc? So lots of different kind of connecting, and we finished developing it July this year because we were at Rose Centre. So it was our last kind of tour for 2024, 2025. Now we've got this one, which will take till probably January, and then we'll finish the final one. So it's had like 19 seasons.
What kind of stamina does it take on you physically to solo woman on stage, 30 characters?
I kind of forget sometimes till people are like, geez, that's mammoth. But I've never gotten on stage and gone, wow, this is easy. I think the emotional arc is what takes it, the mental thing, because people don't realise in the first scene, like there's 30 scenes. So in the first scene, there's like 30 different cues. Like I'll sit there and go, okay, make sure your head's that way. Kanipa's over here. That light will come down now. Make sure you got to wait for the snoring. Your cue is over here. Transition this way. His hand was up there. Make sure when you transition back. Yeah. So like mentally, there's actually quite a lot going on. But because I've done it so many times, only Taranaki for October one, I finally was like, I'm all good now. It's in my tinana. So now it's like just the fine tuning and the crafting of it, but it's fun.
Pai tū, pai hinga, pai kare, Paewhiri.
For character reference, and give us maybe a little bit of backstory about maybe 3 characters.
Oh, yeah.
amongst
So
your
my
30.
favourite is my granddad. And now this is how,
Oh, well, you're a whānau. So lovely to meet you. I'm Mane. Good to see you all.
so he's the main character and he's my favourite. But then we've also got the antagonist. Hello. Yes, it's so lovely to be here. She's always causing dramas. And then there's cousin Tasha. Hi, whānau. It's so lovely to be here today. It's so unfortunate what's happening with everyone. So, yeah. And then there's my other cousin Max. So, oh, yeah, kia ora whānau. No, everything's pretty okay. So I think my granddad is my favourite. But then there's like Polder, who's like a mongrel mob, and then there's the news, the gossipy aunties, as you said before,
Yep.
and the ones that are on the pai, then the marae drill sergeant. Don't you touch that! I said to get up. So yeah, kind of a whole bunch of them.
Oh my goodness. And I can resonate with every single one of those people. That is very, very cool, Kristyl. So Tangihanga, 30 characters based on a period in your life, and obviously performing tonight
Yes.
at the Tauranga
Yes.
Arts Festival.
Yes.
And you talked about wanting that audience reaction or feedback. What has been the general feedback for you?
It's actually been really quite amazing. I think for me it was like, do people understand the story? But I think like it's either like people really resonate, like it's been quite surprising how many people's whānau have either just passed, like mums, dads, husbands, wives, children. So it's been, some of them have said it was quite healing. So sometimes when it goes beyond your whakaari and actually goes into like somebody impacting them in their real life, I don't take that lightly. So I think I understood it was going to have an impact, but when you hear from audience members that I didn't know how I was going to take it, but it was healing and I cried. A lot of people come because they're like 30 characters. I need to see what this lady's doing. How's she going to do this?
Yeah.
So those have been the things either, or some people don't realise it's quite funny because they assume that it's a tangi, that it's going to be all tangi, and then realising it's quite funny. It really does show a tangi from beginning to the end. So tikanga, kawa, the different whānau members, how Māori, like, because we've had a lot of, we've had 60% non-Māoris attend over all of it. And then so a few of them are going, I feel like I've gotten a bit of a Māori history on tikanga and how things work on the marae. And there's a couple of Māoris, no, that's exactly what happens on the marae. So that's been good.
Absolutely. And you're right. Tangihanga with it can bring a lot of, obviously, emotion and sadness, but in that there's like backstabbing, there's a little bit of gossip, there's laughing because you're kind of in a state where you're hanging out with your family for 3 days and, not everything is really, really serious and there is time to be serious and a time to sort of, break out and have a bit of a kata and a catch up. Nice. Yeah. I want to turn slightly, Kristyl, from our kōrero about the play Tangihanga. You've been around death a lot and tūpapaku a lot in your life. So today, in terms of our marae and our tikanga, how do you think it has changed?
Well, there's been kind of a few different things that's been happening. I think in some ways there was that tricky period where it was the transitioning of the handing over to the next generation. And then there was that kind of who can take it on. So I'm glad there was like that resurgence of our younger generation learning te reo, so they could do the kaikoranga, they could do the kaikorero. So that was an interesting, where there was nobody on many a marae at times, and we had to sometimes bring on other kaumātua from other marae to speak on behalf, and then there was the kawa and tikanga around that. How can somebody that's not tangata whenua come onto this marae and bring in the manuhiri? So there was a bit of that. I think I've seen a lot more of our younger generation stepping into those roles now, which I think has been quite beautiful. Yeah, I think there's still a bit of trickiness in some maraes around how that works, and is there an ability to change any of our kaua and tikanga to what is allowed on? Because, there's, I just had a kōrero with somebody who said that they were having a party on the marae and they were drinking at the front. I was like, oh, no,
Yeah.
we don't cross the line with bringing in new things. Like, I think there's got to be a very fine line of what is appropriate and what isn't. Kaua and tikanga is there for safety.
Yeah.
So everybody knows where they're going, what they're meant to be doing and how they're meant to be doing. I don't think we should be blurring the lines, because then how far does that go?
It's interesting that you bring that up too, because here in Tauranga Moana, not too sure about kahungunu, but we have this pai niki, which means if we have very small numbers of kaumātua, closely related marae, which is in the same kind of iwi, like Ngāti Ranginui and Ngāti Rangi here and Ngāti Pūkenga, they'll help us out. So that's how we kind of retain that the speaking rights on our marae. What about phones? And we were lucky that there were no phones back in 2009. But in terms of, say, recording Tangihanga and tūpapaku, where do you how's that played out in your life?
Well, I know different cultures are a bit more open to sharing photos, and I think in this day and age, that is quite tricky, because I think it has to be organised from somebody in the whānau. I don't think it should be everybody, and I think it should be done in a way that's still tapu. Don't just have anybody pulling out a camera. A lot of our whānau ones is somebody that's nominated, they set up a proper Zoom and a proper live, which is, filtering out exactly what other people, we don't need to see all the dramas happening. That's not part of what you want to share. That's not the way we want to remember our loved one. So I think there has to be a bit of, there needs to be some tikanga and kaua brought in around what's appropriate, but I don't think we should have phones out everywhere.
I don't know if you've heard about this, Kristyl, because I'm asking you this question because you grew up with your father as a mortician, so that you can't get more deeper than your own father koro, and that's working in that space. So our whānau kind of moving towards, or some whānau moving towards more traditional means of burial, in harakeke, instead of coffins. A new thing I've heard in the last 6 months is water has come back as well.
Yeah.
Putting whānau in water as a way of, similar to, was it Hahunga? I think it was the kupu with the caves and the bones.
Yes,
so
yes.
Do you have a perspective on that?
Yeah, well, we actually managed to do some of our Tangihanga shows as a part of Dying Matters. Have you heard of Dying Matters?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. So Dying Matters, and we've got to meet a lot of people, Go With Grace, the Rotorua Compassionate Te Atawhai Services. And so I know that they're also looking at, because there's a lot of legality around what the government allows you to do. So a lot of people wanted Dad to actually do it more naturally. So my props are made of crates, because Dad used to make these similar crate-style boxes that could be then collapsed down, so they would go in the ground, but Dad could then remove it, so then the whānau could go into the ground. So
Wow.
I always feel like if you can get a harakeke, if you don't have to be embalmed, it's a lot more affordable for whānau as well. And I think that whānau should be able to choose how they decide to go out, and whether that is not in a box that costs 2-3. To me, that's a lot of money. I'm sorry, I'm not
It's a lot of money.
No, to go in the dirt. No. So I think there are a lot of people advocating for those spaces to be able to get natural burial. So I think if we support those kaupapas to be able to help us to make those decisions, then we should support them.
Pai tū, pai hinga, nā wai rā kauti. Anei te punua pāoho o Paewhiri.
What does the rest of 2025 look like?
So we are doing a fundraiser for Tangihanga back at home, and we are filming our short film. So I've actually now brought it back to the short film. So it's 13 minutes. And we've got most of our people. We've managed to secure 70% of our funding. So now I'm just doing 3 shows in Hastings to be able to film the short film. and then as the proof of conception. So we're going to be taking that to festivals next year just to see what the visual cinematic version of Tangihanga, what kind of impact it has, and then hopefully people will also love that, and then we'll work towards the feature.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. So fundraising, are you doing online or anything, or just totally
Well, we
Hastings?
actually are filming it. So we are filming it on the 18th. We then do the 3 shows on the 19th and 20th. And so then I will then allow people to purchase the actual theatre version.
Oh, nice.
So that if they want to pay for it, that will go directly towards the short film or the feature film.
Ka pai. Well, thank you very much, Kristyl, for joining the
Thank you.
Te Whare o Te Tiraraka nei. And all the best for the show and for the rest of the festival. Ngā mihi kia koe.
Yeah, kia ora, ka kite.
Tēnā tātou katoa e te whānau, Kristyl Neho there, talking about her play Tangihanga. It's a solo play, it's just her on stage, and she plays 30 characters. So I hope you enjoyed that interview. Don't forget, for previous episodes of Paewhiri, you can, of course, check out the website rnz.co.nz/Paewhiri, or you can listen to previous episodes on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Ko ia te hōtaka I tēnei rā. Nō reira, tēnei te mihi kauatu kia koutou katoa. Mauri tū, mauri ora.